and welcome to Teacher Gimbal channel. Today we're going to be going over Illustrative Math Algebra 2, Unit 1, Lesson 1 Practice. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you can continue to get more like it. Let's get started. Problem number 1. Here's a rule to make a list of numbers. Each number is the sum of the previous two numbers. Start with the numbers 0 and 1, and then follow the rule to bring a sequence of 10 numbers. So 0 and 1 are the first two numbers. The next number is going to be the sum of those two, which will be 1 and 1. Now, the two previous numbers for the next numbers is going to be 1 and 1. 1 plus 1, that's 2. Now, the next number will be the sum of these two, which would be 3, plus these two, which is 5, plus these two, which is 8, plus these two, which is 13, plus these two, which is 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus these two, which is 34. We could continue going, but it just asks us for 10. This has a special name for this sequence of numbers, and it's actually called the Fibonacci sequence. Let's go on to problem 2. A sequence starts with 1/2, 1/4, 1/8. Give a rule that the sequence could follow. Well, I'm noticing that the top stays the same and the bottom gets bigger. So I'm going to say multiply each term by 1/2. That's because the 1 is going to keep multiplying, and the bottom, 2 times 2 is 4, times another 2 is 8, times another 2 would be 16, which would get us 16, times another 2 would be 32, times another 2 would be 64, and our sequence would continue. Let's do problem number 3. A sequence of numbers follows the rule. Multiply the previous number by -2 and add 3. The fourth term in the sequence is -7. Give the next three terms of the sequence. So I'm going to draw lines. I know this is -7, and I know I'm going to want the next three terms in the sequence. So let's look at our rule. I'm going to actually work backwards. It said multiply the previous number by 2 and add 3. So I'm going to use my algebra skills, and I'm going to go backwards. So instead of adding 3, I'm going to subtract 3. Instead of multiplying by -2, I'm going to divide by -2. So this is the only number I know. Let's go ahead and work forward. Well, I started working backwards first by doing the inverse operation. So let's do work backwards, and then we're going to work forwards. So the opposite of adding 3 is subtracting 3. -7 minus 3 is going to be -10. And instead of multiplying 2 by -2, it's going to be dividing by -2. -10 divided by -2 gets you +5. Let's go ahead and do it another time. To get the previous number, instead of adding 3, I'm going to subtract 3. So 5 minus 3 is 2. And instead of dividing by -2, multiplying by -2, I'm going to divide. 2 divided by -2 is -1. One last time. Instead of adding 3, I'm going to subtract 3. It's going to get me -4. Instead of multiplying by -2, I'm going to divide, which is going to give me +2. Pause the video at any point if you need to think about how I went through that step. All right, because people process differently, and if you need to write it down, take a second, get a piece of paper, and write down what I'm saying as I'm saying it so you can visualize the process yourself. We're now going to work forward. Because we're going forward, we're actually going to follow this rule. So to get this number here, I'm going to multiply the previous number, which is -7, by -2. So -7 times -2 is +14. And I'm going to add 3, which gets me 17. The next one is I'm going to multiply by -2. 17 times -2 gets me -32. And I'm going to add 3, and it's negative. Adding 3 is going to bring me backwards. It's going to give me 29. -29. Finally, one more. We're going to multiply the previous number by 2. So -29 times -2 is going to give me +58. And I'm going to add 3, which gets me +61. I'm done. Notice that because we're multiplying by -2, The negative numbers actually are just every other term, which is an interesting pattern that happens here. Problem number 4. A sequence starts with 0, 5. Give a rule the sequence could follow for the next 3 terms for that rule. So we could do any rule. I start with 0, so I'm going to do add 5. That's easy. 0 plus 5. I add another 5, add another 5, add another 5, add another 5, and that works. Now we want to give a different rule that sequence could follow in the next 3 terms for that rule. Okay, well, if I start with 0 and then I get to 5, I'm going to say add 10 and divide by 2. So we added 10 from 0, we divided by 2, we got 5. So we add 10 to 5, which gets us 15. We divide by 2, which is going to get us 7.5. Let's do it again. I got ourselves in some deep decimals here. We add 10 to 7.5, which is 17.5. 17.5 divided by 2 is 8.75. I think that's correct. All right, we need one more. 8.75 plus 10 is going to get me 18.75. 18.75 divided by 2 is going to give me, and the nice thing here is you have access to calculators on your computer if you're watching this video. So make sure to use your handy dandy calculator if you need to do that. It's 9.375. All right, we did our sequences. That is our problem set for today. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments below. Remember, for some of these questions, like problem 4, there's many different answers. So if you come up with your own, put them in your comments. And if you want me to check them, tag me and I will look it over. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you do, please like and subscribe. And I will see you again in the next one. That did not turn it off.